Okay, so I see a bunch of black squares with white names. Don't be shy. You can keep your camera off if that works best for you. It's just more fun for me if I can see people and they can see each other. I won't be able to see you when we start because there'll be a little strip down the side. But at the same time, if you use that little reaction button at the bottom, I think you pop up to the top and then I'll be able to see you. And I think Tara will be, if you even just want to do this, Tara will catch it. I won't necessarily see it. Okay, but thank you for those of you who are brave enough to put your screens on. Hopefully this is all going to go well and easily. Can you all see this? Okay, this is my grumpy bluebird that doesn't like winter, and I stole him from the internet. And any slides that I did steal from the internet, I kept a list of the websites so that if I was asked, I would have it and say I'm giving them credit. So if anybody has a question, please just ask where I got it from, and I can snoop at the end of the program. So welcome, glad you came. If this were a face-to-face program, I would say how many of you are beginners, how many are your intermediate, etc. If there's anybody here who's been tracking a lot, by all means jump in, because I'm an intermediate tracker, and the more I go out, the more I realize I don't know. And when the conditions change, I get even worse. But I grew up as a kid in New Jersey. I loved being outside. I was an only child, so I sat in the woods watching ants and collecting fossils. And so when I moved up here 40 years ago, it just made sense to start looking around and asking, what was going on. So a disclaimer, almost all the pictures are mine, and what I did steal, I gave credit to. Special thanks to Chris Conrad, who is a really expert tracker, and I've got slides from Mary Holland as well, who's amazing. So again, I'm just going to kind of go through, and my first question to you is, if you were, and you can put this in chat if you like, where someone can just unmute and shout it out. If you were just showing up at a new place and you've never seen it before, what do you think you should notice first? Would you look first for the print, the pattern, the place? Just write something in chat if you can, and maybe Tara, you can see the chat, correct? Or can you?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So what are you seeing for answers?
Everybody's being shy.
I need one brave person. Which would you look for? You just drove up, here you are.
Print.
We have place and pattern.
Place, pattern, print. Okay, so everybody
Space between prints.
Yeah. Well, there's really no wrong answer, but having been out with Sue Morse enough, who's from Vermont Keeping Track program, who I would die to spend a week with, she would say you check out your place first. You want to see, you start asking questions, what trees are growing here? So because that'll give you an idea of what food is there. You want to know, where's the water? Where's the hiding places and the shelter? So where to look? And I'll spend a little time, and I'm assuming some people are beginners, so I'm going to go through that. So here are 3 areas that you would look. Any old logging trails, any ski areas. Animals want to conserve energy, so they are going to walk wherever we walk and wherever we've patted it down and cut. They're going to go there, but they're not going to stay there. But it's a good place to look. And then on top right, that's under shrubs. That's a great place for rabbits and grouse. They actually burrow in their little bodies into the snow to keep warm. And then big rocks like that this is porcupine territory for sure. And I had to cut this down because I have full slides on all of these and we'd be here till probably midnight. So you want to look on logs, especially cats like to walk on logs. Fox will walk on logs. You want to look at holes in trees and the size of the holes. You want to start paying attention. And then little logs, we call them scent posts because animals will rub on them and urinate on them to say, I was here. So you want to look at those places. Big trees are really great places for them to shelter in when there's a storm. Then you want to look at wetlands. At the top is a bog behind my house. You want to look at streams, bogs, puddles, anywhere animals can get, rivers. Someone before we started said, there's a river, and as soon as, they need to drink. So that's a great place. Sue always says the messier the environment, the better, because they're looking for things to hide in. The riparian area, which is along that boggy area. Can you see my little marker? They don't want to be out in the main area. They'll cross, but then they'll hang out in that area there so that they're safer. So again, here are the wetlands. And then there are patterns of animals. Hoppers, waddlers, bounders, and walkers. And we're walkers. 1 foot, X foot, wet foot, nest foot. We can hop. We could waddle. Think of about a baby with a diaper on, kind of waddling along. Well, it's like a bear walks that way. And then there are bounders, which to me, all I can think of is slinkies. When we were kids, we had slinkies, and the body, we can't do it with our body, but weasels and otters can do that. So here's the kind of patterns, because after you've checked out place, in my mind, the next thing to do is start looking at the patterns. Do you have a hopper? Do you have a bounder? Do you have a waddler? Do you have a walker? And once you figure that out, then you can start to go down to looking at the prints. So I've sort of organized these according to the category of the animal. Here are some of our hoppers. And we have a nice snowshoe hare. I love snowshoe hare. And before we started, Eleanor and I were discussing that these prints get bigger the more they melt. And they can get mighty, mighty big. So here's patterns you probably recognize. This is a gray squirrel. And, oh, I want to go back. Can I go back? No, wait. I want you to look at the hoppers for a second and tell me, somebody be brave and tell me, which way is the hopper going? Is it going to the top of the screen? Is it going to the bottom of the screen? Obviously, the bigger feet are the back feet. However, anybody brave?
I would say top.
He's going toward the top. These hoppers put their little feet, their front feet, right between their back feet to get a big spring. So the back feet are always larger in a hopper, but the front feet, so it's very confusing. Like you want to say he's going toward the bottom, but that's not the case. And then there's something else you should see about the hoppers. They're not the same. The two prints on the top and the two on the bottom. Can anybody see the difference? The two on the top are from the same kind of animal. The two on the bottom are not the same animal. What's different?
The front feet.
Yes. Okay. So squirrels will keep their 2 front feet together nice and tight. And, you could draw a little face there and that'll remind you, oh yeah, looks like ears and 2 eyes, that those are the squirrels. And down below, the rabbits tend to stagger their front feet. Not always, and when the snow is deep, forget it. You can tell it's a hopper, but you not always tell that it's a rabbit. So here's our squirrel. And you want to look for the toes. I believe there's 5 on each toe. I don't want to check that. And by the way, I have a cheat sheet. I take cheat sheets with me, little index cards, because I don't always remember who's got how many feet. And that helps me remember. Let me give you squirrel runways. And if you go into trees, I want to make sure I'm not giving you misinformation. I may be 4s. Aha, I'm wrong. See, 4 feet in the front, and toes rather, 4 toes in the front and 5 in the back. Now it won't let me advance. And why is that? There we go. So here's our gray squirrel. This is a great shot. I don't remember who sent this to me, but that gray squirrel is somehow a skull got caught. I don't know if it's obviously either a deer or a moose, because it has those kind of molars, those grinding teeth. But that squirrel is after the calcium. They have to chew to keep their teeth down, and they need the calcium for their bones, and they don't drink milk. So gray squirrels are what they call it's scatter hoarders, meaning they put a nut here, and then they'll go over here and put a nut, and they'll put a nut over here. They scatter them out. That is not true for red squirrels. Red squirrels are hoarders, and they kind of put all their food in one spot. More of our tracks.
Oh yeah.
So again, red squirrel is going to put their stash. This is leftover. You can see the pine cone has been stripped, and they leave their. I'm not sure why. It's a long story. Anyway, here's the red squirrel food on the left, and the acorns on the right, and the red squirrels will stash it in one place. The gray squirrels will put a little here and a little there. And what I heard the other day on a program was they literally find 90% of what they've hidden scattered around. I don't know how that's possible, but they do. There are advantages of doing it one way versus the other. If you put everything together and then somebody finds it, your stash is gone. Whereas if you spread it out, they can't get it all at once. But then if you don't remember where it is, you're in trouble. I don't know. You hear that little peep? For some reason, I'm getting that little peep. So here you want to, for the hoppers, you really want to go leap distance, because that's the only way you can really tell. So this is obviously squirrel, 2 together, and he's got a pretty big leap. And just some more habitats on there. They hang underground in the, they have tunnels all the way underneath those pine trees. They also they like to go and sit when they're going to eat. They want a high point. So they're looking for logs and rocks. And the bottom one on the right is my shed, which they live upstairs in. So these are the cones. These are pine cones, and they've stripped off the bracts so they can get at the seeds that are inside. So shifting now away from the squirrels to the rabbits. We do have rabbits, small rabbits, and snowshoe hare. I love this slide because you can see the mice jumping this way and the snowshoe hare going that way. So a hare runway, you can see the little feet here, but this trail has been used a bit, back and forth, back and forth. And here's we have two kinds of rabbits, not counting snowshoe hare. We have two kinds of rabbits. We have a New England rabbit and we have an Eastern cottontail. The New England rabbit is our native bunny, but unfortunately the Eastern cottontail was brought in for hunting purposes. And they're now vying for territory and food, etc. So our guys, the New England rabbits are in trouble because of it. On the right bottom, I think I kept another picture of that. Okay. I can't see the whole slide because your pictures are in front. Let me see if I can make that smaller. Oh, well, it's fine. So this is from Mary Holland. Sometimes we all know what rabbit pellets look like, but the coloring is coming from eating a particular plant, European, and sometimes it's blue and sometimes it's green, and just kind of funny. So yeah, I did keep this picture. You can tell the rabbit's been browsing versus a deer because it's very sharp. It's got those nice pincers, those incisors, and it snips it off just like cutting it. And jumping ahead to another hopper, this is our white-footed mouse, and he's got a tail drag. The one on the right bottom doesn't drag, but there's the cool tail dragging there. If anybody has questions as we go, you'll notice that the slides are numbered. So you can either ask it now if you're brave, and if you're not brave, save it till the end and just record the number. So then I can go back to the slide. So I'm guessing on this, I'm thinking it's mouse scat. I couldn't tell you what kind or anything, what kind, jumping mouse, but it looks like little mouse droppings that you find in your cabinet, or at least I do. And we have voles. I love voles. Voles stay in I believe it's called a subnivean layer. It's the layer just under the snow. And they make these little trails. It's terrific because they can come out different ways and be safe from any kind of predators like hawks or owls, and they're completely hidden. And the one on the right bottom is when the snow is melting in the spring. I think I kept another one of that. Yeah, look at those tunnels when there's very little snow left. Are there any questions about the hoppers? Squirrels, and we have squirrels and rabbits and mice. Now these guys are waddlers because they generally have bigger butts. And so they're gonna waddle along nice and slow. It's why porcupines get squashed on the road. I don't think of, I guess I do think of beaver as waddlers, but they are. But I almost never think of the black bear as a waddler because he can walk on 2 feet, 4 feet, and but he is. And you can see the breadth of the trail, okay? And we're going to talk about that. This is called the straddle, how fat the trail is. And the bodies of these waddlers tend to make trails like that. So here's our first ombre. As I took that picture up at Squam Lake Science Center, the porcupine, and you can see this trail again been used. There's belly drag right here, and the individual footprints are here. And on the bottom, I kept this slide too. I want to show you that, but I'll show it to you later. So this is great porcupine den. They are really dirty. I have one behind my house, and the scat and the urine is very obvious. I'm told, though I've never had experience, that a fox will den with a porcupine. I've never seen that, but I've been told that they like the same rock outcroppings. There's look how much scat there is in there. Okay, this is really important. Porcupines love hemlock, and they'll go up on the top. I would remember skiing once, and this porcupine was sitting up on the top of Gunstack, just munching on the little shoots of hemlock. So if you ever see a whole bunch scattered on the ground, you start looking around for the tracks. So that's something we didn't talk about. We talked about print, pattern, and place. But there's a lot of other evidence. There's chews, there's middens that are left over, feathers. So you want to not just look for prints. Here's our dude, our raccoon, 5 feet on the front, 5 toes on the front, 5 on the back. I've never seen anybody washing their food, but I'm told the raccoons wash their food. How they look matters. On snow, one way; in mud, a different way. Once you get hooked in this, you're done. You'll be out there with a ruler, you'll be out there with a camera and, measuring tapes. I love these prints. I stole this picture. That's raccoon latrine. His scat is long and skinny and obviously very plentiful. This is also a raccoon, and I wanted to show you. This is important. Can anybody see what's going on with these prints? Tell me in direction particular. Anybody see it? Look at this versus this versus this. They're in a zigzag. So that's a real key for a raccoon. However they're waddling, they are alternating a pattern, a diagonal pattern. The guy at the bottom, I don't know what happened to him. I found him in my yard, and he was frozen to the ground. Oh shoot, I don't want to go there yet. So it looked like he had been in a fight. His rear end was bitten or something. So I don't think he died of rabies. I think he died of being injured, and then he was out in the elements so long. I had to take a shovel and try to get under his body. It was, I didn't want my cat near him in case there had been rabies. Our opossum, which is so cool. And opossums have a thumb. You can see that thumb sticking out there. And again, I can tell you the toes later if you really want to know how many toes. But what I also take with me, Sue Morse, if you go to, I'll tell you about her later, is how to get tracking stuff. But these I got from the state.
Yeah.
And they're free, and you can just pick them up.
The tracking?
Yeah, the tracking cards from Fish and Game. Yeah.
We'll have a bunch of those when you do your program next weekend, Barbara. Yeah.
And if you need more, I have more.
Excellent.
He is a lovely little thumb. But I don't think he hangs from his thumb. He hangs from his tail. And our beaver. Beavers can come out, but they have stashed food next door. If they can kind of come out and get it. They actually stick it in their house, in their dens, lodges, and they can pull some of them right through so they can be lazy and have their stash. And then on the right, the amount of damage they can do, their teeth. I mean, look at the size of this. And yeah, it's so great. Whereas a muskrat, I've never seen a muskrat on my tracking, but I'm told that they have to forage every day, that they have to be out swimming around, whereas the beavers figured out, nah, I ain't going out. Any guesses?
Bear.
Yeah. Yeah, this is our big brown bear. And I like this shot because my neighbor took it, and it's really important to bring something, even put your hand next to it or your foot, something to get scale, so as you can't tell, well, this is pretty obvious, but with any track, put it next to it when you take your picture. And Sue also talks about taking a picture from the top. The closer you are, the more distorted it's gonna look. And so this is black bear visiting my bird feeder, which I should have brought in. I bring my feeders in every single night in the summer, spring. I shouldn't keep them out, but I'm pretty careful getting it in on time. Sue was showing hair. This is really bear hair on the left, underneath the point, hard to see. And you've got bear claws on this birch. So I think it's a birch. It's kind of hard to tell with all the spots. It could be beech. But big trees. Bears like to use big trees to mark. They send their cubs up. She calls them nursery trees. So she shoos them up there while she goes and eats, and then they come down when she tells them, which is so cool. I guess they also, she said they have special lips. They go up to the top, and the berries, like beech nuts and things that are way, way, way out, they will pull those branches to them. So that's a way to tell. They bring it toward the center, and then they will munch. I don't have pictures of that. This is a bite, and she's showing how the incisors go into the tree, and they actually bite the tree to say, I've been here. And they do telephone poles. They also mark by rubbing their backs. If you ever go out with Sue, she's just hysterical. She'll be back there rubbing her back and saying, and then sniffing and saying, oh, that was Beatrice. Oh, she was here. Oh, she was a hot chick. You know, it's just a lot of fun to go out with her. So if there are no questions on the waddlers, let me know. I'll go back. Otherwise, I'm going to go to the bounders. Now, how would you know that this is not raccoon? Anybody? I'm seeing if you're paying attention.
Well, the size.
Yeah, but look at the direction.
It's not zigzag.
It's not zigzag. It's on the same angle. So what we've got going on here, and it's really hard to show, there really are 4 feet in here. And he's slinking his body, and 4 feet are oops, hold on. 4 feet are landing there. So it's like a slinky. And here are our bounders. Weasels are so cool. Weasels change color, white in the winter and brown in the summer. I think minks stay the same. I had done a program at a nursing home once, and one lady asked me, well, do they turn colors all at once? And the answer is no. I I believe they start at the bottom and go to the top. Don't quote me on that, but the body does not change all at one time, which was new to me. So here's our fissure. And if you have water, actually this is a mink, I believe this is a mink. Minks love to go in the water and swim around. I do not know why this pelt is here. Obviously some kind of confrontation. And these are mustelids. They smell funny. I had a ferret once somebody gave me. I had to wash that ferret every day. I finally gave it away. It was too much work. But their scat tends to be tapered and twisted, and they love to slide. So here's our mink slide. And I'm betting that's 4. So that looks to me like it's weasel. And here is our weasel. Sliding, they love to just have fun. And there's the color difference. Though I did not take those shots. Those shots are from the internet. They're pretty secretive animals. There we are, our weasel prints are star. They look like a star with the 4 toes and the 4 toes. Now this is our fisher, much bigger animal than mink. And the fisher would be more woodland than being near water like that. And they have 5 toes and 5 toes. So if you think you're going to get confused between a dog or a cat, you're not, because they're 5 toes. But the size could be similar to, well, not a cat, but size could be similar to small bobcat. Fisher toes, nice toes, you can see them. Sometimes the 5th toe is hidden. And slides. All those weasels like to have fun. Weasels and minks, they all slide. So you must put in the dirt time. Do I know for sure what these tracks are? No, I don't. I could make a guess, but I have to really start to measure. I have to, if the snow is deep, it's even harder. But the more times you're out there, the more tricks you learn. So here's otter den. And otters are going to be near water. They eat clams and fish and things like that. And their scat is going to have fish bones in it. And, real evidence. And Stephen Barry, I think, is here tonight, and these are his prints. I think I actually gave him some credit somewhere. Yeah, there I did. So, Stephen, thank you. So we're going to go on to our walkers. This was my dog, Hannah. And I'm really running. I should be by now. I should be up to moose. So I'm going to have to speed up a bit, I think. So here's my question. We have 2 slides. Which one is dog and which one is maybe fox or coyote? Somebody yell it out. Your guess, and even why.
Dog on the left,
How do you know? You're right. Absolutely.
as it looks just like my dogs.
That's cheating. Why is the one on the right
Fox.
a fox or canine versus a domestic dog?
Because it runs in a straight line.
Right. This wild animal is busy. He wants to eat. He's not going to mess around trees and around corners and sniff everywhere. So, yep, you got it. Oops, is that slide again? So again, you can tell wild, they have a mission. And there's the proof there's my Hannah out there making all kinds of trails and crosses and figure eights and okay, so how do you tell from the print whether you've got a coyote, a fox, or a dog? All the canines, if you look at this print, and again, I can't get rid of all you guys on the side, so I can't even see it. The canines have an X through. It's very symmetrical, and there's an X that runs this way. So you will know at least it's a canine, and canines are also going to have claws, which sometimes register and some don't register. Cat's going to be very different, rounded. These guys are sort of pointy. And the other thing is sometimes they walk on top of each other. So he places this foot here, this is the front, and they're walking, but then the back foot will come right on top of where the front foot was, and that makes it really difficult to tell. But here's our coyote, and coyote on the right, fox on the left. You can see the difference in size. You know, a coyote can run as big as 50 pounds. It's almost double what a fox will be. And in the mud, you can really see the toes. There's a bird there too, and I'm betting it's a crow, but I'm not sure.
How can you tell the difference between a dog print and a fox? I mean, a coyote print.
Let's go back. Dogs are lazy and they're well fed. So what happens is what happens to older people like me, your feet spread out and the tendons get, you know, they're lazy. They run and stuff, but they don't run and they don't hunt like a coyote. So the tendons in a wild animal are between the toes are going to be really much more tight than a dog. The others are going to be more splayed out. You can't always tell, but because there are 50-pound dogs. I hope that answered your question. And then we've got the coyote digging. Thank you again, Stephen, if you're still here. I'm not sure what they're digging for, though. I really don't know. There's a big one down the road from me. And so here's our two foxes. We have gray fox and red fox. The red fox, believe it or not, is bigger, and I didn't know that. Their footprints are, for me, are really hard to tell, but I'm going to say this is red because there's a chevron in here and there's some furry spots in here. Chevron, like if you were in the service, then you have these chevrons on your arm, and then the heel pad is here. The red fox can't climb trees. The gray fox can. Gray fox also can have semi-retractable toenails or claws. So sometimes you look and you go, oh, is that a cat or is that a fox? Because there's no toenails showing. And Mary says that for some reason, red fox like to sleep out at the base of trees. So they sleep short periods of time. They sleep, they wake, they sleep, they wake. They're always on guard, which is unusual, as opposed to the gray fox, which will be more in a den or a big tree. And again, here's the same picture before. So what do you notice here? It's obvious you can really see that X pattern, and looks like he's going toward the left. That's my guess. But what else do you see? Because tracking is about reading stories. What's all this stuff?
The toe drag.
Yeah, oh, he's lifting his toe up and dragging it. which is an indication that this may be an older fox, or it might have some injury or something. Yeah, it is dragging. When it lifts, it's dragging. And I'm sorry, I cannot tell gray from this slide, gray from red. It's really difficult. So here's some really places to look, or at scat. They tend to, fox scat tends to be tapered. Coyote scat tends to be blunt and chunky. And then I have some of those scenting posts here. So any guesses here? See, without telling them, I don't think it's a fox. And we didn't talk about, the other thing we didn't talk about is a walker, like our deer, our moose, our canines, our cats. Walkers don't just walk. They can lope. They can trot. They can leap. So even though we talked about print patterns, yeah, I'm thinking this might be a fisher, but without scale, without anything next to it, I can't tell. There's our posts, our scat. They that's how they say, I was here. Okay, now we're going to our felines. A quarter is good to bring because cat prints are generally about the size of a quarter. Bobcat would be more like a tennis ball. And I've never seen cougar tracks, but cougar tracks would be the size of a baseball. So this is my cat, who unfortunately is no longer with us, but you can see the difference between how nice and round these are. There's no like lead toe, there's no toenails. It's pretty distinct. What's difficult is to tell bobcat from domestic cat. But again, without a scale, but I'm going to say this is a bobcat. It's pretty big. There she is, or he is. And this is looks to me like a snowshoe print here. And the bobcat is using that print to save energy. Again, this guy is walking in somebody else's prints, and there it is in mud. They're just so distinct with that pad. 4 toes on the front, 4 toes on the back. Stride is measured from toe to toe, depending on what field guide you're using. I go from toe to toe on the same side as the animal. There's a man named Halfpenny that does, and he actually measures from side across the trail. But I would recommend that you measure stride. How big is you can tell how big the animal is by measuring stride. And then straddle, again, we talked about earlier, that would be measuring from the outside of the toe to the outside of the other toe. So from here to wherever the next toe meets, from here to here would be the straddle. And all your field guides are going to give you that information. So here's a walker. Obviously, I learned that these pellets don't come out all at once. They come out like sausages, like they're all hooked together. I had no idea. And these deer are in my yard, and you can see the 2 toes. Again, they rub. Some people say they're rubbing the velvet. This is winter. They're not rubbing velvet in the middle of winter. So they're scenting here. And you need to pay attention to how close to the ground it is, because again, it's an animal that's kind of big, so it's got to get down. There's some glands apparently between the two top of the eyes. A deer bed where they're laying down, and Sue always says, look in the bed, which will be on open ground. Well, but they like to go under hemlocks because hemlocks block snow. Look for a footprint inside. I would say probably this, because when they get up, they put a print down. And remember the rabbit brows, nice and sharp. Deer don't have those same nice little incisors. This is a deer kill, completely gone. This was taken in California by a friend of mine, and I couldn't resist. I came upon a turkey kill one day, and it was late, and I said, oh, I'll come back the next day. It wasn't there. A few feathers. So yeah, they provide, and this is where she took the picture. And the toes. I am so far behind. Who walks here? Look at the straddle of that trail. Again, from this side to this side. This is no squirrel. This is it's a big animal walking there. And here's generally the big animal. I took both of these pictures. The one on the left was taken up in northern New Hampshire, and the other one I took in Alaska. Any guesses on what she's doing? She's looking for something bending down there. Shout it out if you have a guess.
Minerals.
Yeah, she's looking for salt on the road that was left from winter. Yeah, she is. And this is again moose, cute, the only big animal we have that would leave something that large. But in deep snow, it's awful hard to tell, because sometimes, a herd of deer will follow the same prints, and then you say, is that moose, is that deer? And this is our moose. The jawbone on the top right is my dog found it. Buddy was his name, and Buddy dug it up. A moose has no teeth on the top. So what he's got to do is put the teeth here, the bottom teeth, and drag it up. Drag it up. So sometimes this looks like a deer rub, but the thing, you see these little leftover pieces, that tends to be saying, somebody's stripping the bark off, tasty bark. And remember, scat's going to look different in the winter than it is in the summer, because in the summer, moose is going to eat weeds, be in the bogs looking for tasty shoots. In the winter, he's got to survive on bark and twigs. So this is summer scat here. Also, you'll notice on this antler how it's chewed, just like when we looked at the the squirrel, and the squirrel was eating the jaw for the calcium. Oh, we're not doing as bad as I thought. So here's our birds. I think this is crow. If you don't have if you have an Apple phone and you don't have an app on it that identify bird sounds, this morning I heard and I had no idea what it was. It didn't sound like a J or anything. The app is called Merlin Bird. Merlin Bird. And honest to God, I try to trick it. It never tricks it, ever. You can hold out the phone and it will identify. And not only does it identify if there's three, it'll go back and forth whoever's making the noise now will be yellow. No, now it's the blue jay. Oh, no, it's the titmouse. It will go back and forth, which is so cool. I'm told that most birds either walk or hop, but crows and ravens can do both. So they choose a pattern. Obviously, turkeys walk, but crow and ravens can hop. And I've had here, check out the book by Mark Elbrock. It's huge. You could, it's so fat. So here's our one of our biggest birds, pileated woodpecker. They make these huge holes. They're looking for ants, carpenter ants, and they will just chew that all around and leave the chewings at the bottom. Big holes. Sometimes you can even find dead ants at the base of the tree. And I love this bird. Remember the shrubs from the very beginning of the program. This guy likes, or growl, likes to hide under that shrubbery. And I love their prints because they're so varied and they look like zippers. They're pretty distinct. They might have a wing drag, but I don't have any shots of a wing drag. Look how distinct that is. It's like little zippers. So what might have gone on here? Be brave, somebody. Make a guess. What are we looking at?
Owl.
It's some bird of prey who grabbed something.
You betcha. Some bird of prey came down and got some mouse or something, and the wing prints are registered on the snow. So if you go out, please start to decode and read the stories. Not just what is this, but what is it doing and where is it going? Or what happened here yesterday? So this is cool. These are turkey, and you can see there's some fox over here, and there's a human track here, and then we've got our turkey here, and turkey in mud. I think I kept a big picture of him in my yard. Well, he's over here on the right. They come through my yard. They just sort of all land together and munch around. I think they come before I get up because there's all these holes looking for things, and I've never seen them make them, but they're there in the morning. There's our mud. So some kind of skirmish here. You got feathers, you got blood. Any kind of disturbance you want to look for. Somebody's claw got left behind. I don't know. I mean, these might be, I mean, these are mammal prints. These are not, but then we got this bird foot, and look at those claws. That's a bird of prey. So I have no idea again what happened. Friend of mine took this picture, and she had to witness this out her back window. Pretty tough. This sharp-shinned hawk got this blue jay, and she couldn't interfere. I was sitting out back one day in the summer, and shoo, came and got my chickadee. I couldn't even get off my chair fast enough. Plus, it's his breakfast. Hard to watch for me. Again, mysteries. You know, what do we got going on here? Something. And again, I couldn't tell you. It looks like there's some urine here. Looks like this might be a trail, a hole going under the ground. But they're not easy to read. This one's, I think, a little easier, although you're not seeing the tracks around it. Doesn't look like it's been disturbed. Doesn't look like anybody had a tussle. Any guesses? So I'm guessing it's a deer in estrus that's some blood. Like her period. Am I sure? No. And again, I cheat. I take little cards with me that tell me when the breeding seasons are. And some like squirrels have 2 breeding seasons, and some don't. The deer are in the fall, moose breeding season in the fall. So I may be wrong on this one. Might be an injury. There is a saying, when in doubt, follow it out. Follow it longer to see if you can figure out what you're looking at. And if you've got other people with you, see if you can get a consensus, because everybody sees it a little differently. Who goes here? So is this a hopper, a bounder, a walker, a waddler? How do you know it's not a waddler? Remember, our waddlers are porcupines and skunks and raccoons.
It's not waddling.
How do you know?
There's no butt drag.
There's no butt track. There's no belly track, right? There's
It's a straight line.
this animal is straight on and there's no wide trail. Okay. How about hopper? You think it's a hopper?
No.
No, because there's not 4 distinct prints. This is a bounder. This guy's got 4 in here and 4 in there. And just bounding along. So we're talking mink, weasel, otter. That's too small for otter, but fish. Could be fisher. Fishers do bound, but I'm going to go for mink or weasel. I'd go for mink, the guy by the size of the straddle here. Weasels are much skinnier. Oops. Wonder why it does that. It has that little peepee noise. Are you sure? So this guy's walking, but where are the toes? Where are the feet? It's a challenge.
Oh,
Look at this one. So what did she say this was? It was it's a parasite that gets inside of, I think, a vole. Well, I'm not sure on that one. But it's a parasite and it makes it wacky. And
Hey, Barbara, we have a question from Tina. She asked, what was the last one?
okay,
The last slide.
I'm going to go for deer. It doesn't look big enough for moose, but again, without being out there, it's hard to tell. And again, if the deer is direct registering on top of its other footprint, that will make it bigger. I hope that helps. I love this one. So animals we didn't cover here, skunks are sleeping. Groundhogs are sleeping. Muskrats are in the water. I don't know about rats. I had 2 living in my shed. I don't have any shrew, but the shrew are out. They are active all winter. Chipmunks are hunkering down with their stash. Pine martens and lynx are going to be all up north country. Do we have cougar? There are a lot of people that say yes, and Fish and Game is very reluctant to say. We have evidence of one that has walked through from North Country to here. And I think it was heading to like Rhode Island or something like that. But as far as are they breeding here, there's no confirmation on that. I think they're afraid to tell people for fear that they'll be afraid. So here's what we sort of covered. We look at the place, the pattern, the print. if you're looking at both looking at the shape, but you also take the print, you measure the width and the front and the back piece. Most animals with weight in the back will have a bigger foot in the back to support the weight. The dog is an exception. The dog's front feet are bigger than the back feet because he's running and he's getting his leaping from that, which is surprising to me. So here are some of the tracking guides that you can get. The ones on the right are Fish and Game. And then I don't know where I got this from. I've even gotten one that came from like Nature Conservancy, etc. So you can go online and find, but I would get yourself a good tracking book. You can keep, if you're really specific, you can actually keep track that way. I don't, but there are tracking journals. I love this one on Amazon. If I were going to have just one book, I would take the book on the left by Paul Resendez. I've been out with him twice. He's retired now, but his book has beautiful pictures. And what I did, oh, did I bring him up here? Yeah, well, now wait a minute. I'm going to dismiss 1 minute. I'm going to grab some. In the back of Paul Resendez's book, he has these guides, measures stride, measures straddle, measures leap. And I don't want to carry that book out. So what I did is when I was teaching 6th grade, again, I didn't want the kids taking the book out. So we made copies. I don't know if it was legal, but I didn't sell them. And then we put strings on them. And that way you've got them right with you. It's light. You can put it in a pack. These are Sue Morse. This book is beautiful. It's expensive, but it's beautiful. She has, these are not expensive. She has rulers. So if I learned anything, some of the things that I learned was make sure you bring a ruler or some kind of a tape measure. Shoot from above, which we mentioned. So you have some kind of reference point. Pay attention where the tracks are. You'll get home and you'll go, where did I take this? Remember that tracks get bigger when they freeze. And when the snow is deep, you want to measure inside the track, not the top. You want to put the ruler from toe to heel inside, same thing, side to side, inside the track. Otherwise, you'll get just as distorted. You know, Mary Holland has a website. I encourage you to go there. I used to get them every day and they would ask questions, mystery, like that. I think it was a weasel. I'll have to look it up if we have time at the end. Great books. If you go out with us, or Tara can probably get this to you, or I could email it to you. If anybody wants, I can email you just about any of these things. And this is my collection, part of it anyway. I'm trying not to cart too much stuff with me, but when I go to a nursing home, I take that, or with children or something like that. So I've scat here and fake prints, etc. And my last slide is just make sure you make some of your own tracks, angels in the snow, and have some fun. And I'd like to end with a poem by Sally Cornwell, which is a beautiful poem. What remained? I found what remained of a porcupine, pelt peeled, defending quills face down, vertebrae intact to tail, pale peachy cream of fresh bone unveiled beneath a hemlock tree. Telltale tracks of feasting fisher and raven abound. A scene of such violence and necessity scattered on the white snow. And Sally has a whole book out now. If anyone is interested, it's the most beautiful. It's a little tiny book. It's not a tracking book. It's a poetry book. And just all like this, just gorgeous, gorgeous stuff. So I'm going to stop screen sharing for a minute. I can always come back to a certain slide.
So Barbara, I can definitely send everybody that I have an email for the bibliography and the recording of the program tonight, because I know some folks came in a little bit late and
Yes.
missed part of it.
Yes.
And anything else you want me to share. So I'll follow up with folks probably tomorrow with that information.
Yeah. Was there anything you saw in chat that I'm going to throw out another question while you're looking there, but what is the only animal that can get a porcupine? Anybody know, Eleanor?
Fisher.
A fish.
A fisher.
Yeah. Do you know how he does it? I don't know how he does it. I flipped it over somehow and gets
I'm one. I can get porcupines.
I've heard, Barbara, that they chase them up a tree and out on a smaller limb.
and then they fall down,
Yeah, and then they fall down to the ground where they can easily flip them
get their
over.
bellies. Yeah, they get.
Yeah.
That's the only place without quills. So, were there any other questions there?
There were no other ones in chat, but if folks have some questions for Barbara before we sign off, go ahead and put them in chat or just unmute yourself and go ahead and ask her.
I have a quick question about the vole tracks.
Yes.
Does anything else except a vole make those kinds of little paths?
Not that I know of. I mean, shrew are like hoppers. So they're on the top. The mice are on the top. So the voles are the ones that that make those tracks, as far as I know. Eleanor?
That's just the answer I needed for my neighbor's question, was what makes these little ski tracks? And I said, well, how big are they? And she said, well, they're about 4 inches across max.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, those
maybe-
are little voles are little fat guys with little short tails. My cat catches, well, she has a hard time with those, and whatever she catches, I open her mouth and let them go. So, but yeah, they're little fat ones. I like
well,
them.
they're the ones that make the ski tracks.
I see. Good.
I think that's what they saw.
Yeah. Do you need me to go back there, or are we okay?
I'm
You
okay.
saw them, and because again, they're underneath the snow, but then when the snow melts, they're exposed.
They're in my apple orchard.
They're in your apple orchard.
That's exactly why I was asking Eleanor, to see if to pay attention for my new trees.
Right.
Well, I'm sure they're nibbling on your apples because, you know, food is it's hard to get. You eat what you can, and squirrels do it all the time. Little apples that I have, little green apples I have fall on the ground, and I go to say, oh, because I found out I could eat them. They're tasty. And sure enough, there'll be a bite in this one and a bite in that one and a bite in that one. Oh, nothing else? Take your cheat sheets with you, you know, if you want to know when the breeding season's there, you know, who breeds in summer, winter, fall. Take your, I've even got one where I keep track of how many babies and when are the babies born. I can't keep all that in my head.
How do you get cheat sheets?
Oh, you just make them on index cards. So you
I don't know when they're in estrus.
oh, you have to go online and research the animal and then
Oh.
put it down.
Not kitchens.
The one that I have the most trouble with telling on the trail is whether the animal is really walking, loping, trotting. They leave patterns. If they're walking, obviously there's 4. You can see the 4. I also can tell leaping, if a deer is leaping, because you'll see the 4 and then you'll see a big space, a leap distance, and there'll be another 4 and then a leap. Those are, I can tell. But the trotting and the loping and how they hold their body is very difficult for me.
Yeah, Barbara, I've been out with Rick Vanderpool. I don't know if you've ever met Rick.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he's another amazing tracker, and he can get down on his hands and knees and smell the scent marks and tell
We-
what animal it is and what it's been eating.
we should have talked about that as well. The scent mark of a red fox of a scent smells like skunk. So if you get down to this, like if you see a spot of urine or you're looking at a log, a broken log, you want to waft it toward you. And some of these animals can, they're not good for you. They have viruses and things in them. So you want to just sort of waft it to you. And Sue says to make it stronger, exhale on it. And it'll make the smell stronger. What else did we not talk about?
I never heard that. That's great.
Yeah, it's important.
I've never actually gotten down there to smell it though.
You
I'll
don't
have to
almost
see
have
if
to.
that happens.
You almost don't have to try with a red fox. It's so strong. The other
they
thing,
are.
I was out with a fellow, Alcott Smith, who used to be a head tracker for Paul Resendez, and he would take me out. I paid him. I got so obsessed with it. I said, fine. I went out with what's his name too, Rick Vanderpool. I said,
Yeah.
well, tell me when you're going. I want to go because I'm greedy for this. Anyway, we got out there and he says, so is this scat from a male turkey or is this scat from a female turkey? I had no idea. I barely saw the track, but I did see the scat. So apparently the female leaves a splat and the male leaves like a Canada goose, like a long skinny thing. And I don't know why they're different, but they are. And then the other thing he did, he'd say, be a track over here, a bunch of tracks over here, nothing but clear until way, way out. And he'd say, so is that track out here related to this track here? I had no idea, but yeah, this was ice. And there was like just a thin layer so you couldn't see, whereas this was deeper snow, ice, and that was the same animal. So anyway, interesting, so much to learn. I did some work down in Tom Brown. If you've never read any of Tom Brown's books, Tom Brown was a young boy who met an Apache scout while he was in the woods, and he calls him grandfather. This was a long, long time ago, and grandfather taught Tom Brown everything he knows. So he set up a school in California and one in New Jersey. So I went down to the one in New Jersey. There were so many people, and we tented, etc. But supposedly he may not be alive anymore, but when I was down there, supposedly he could tell that a bird sat on a branch.
Yeah.
By seeing the claws that hang around. They hired Tom Brown to find people lost in the pine barrens. And because what happens apparently when you get lost, you keep walking thinking you're going, but you're actually leaning to one side and coming right back to where you started from. You're not aware that that's happening. So they always sort of say, stay put if you could, till the trackers can find you. Anyway.
I heard that he helped track criminals too.
He did. Yeah.
Isn't that true? Yeah.
Yeah, he did. But again, his books are still available, I think, in the library. I don't know.
Yeah, we have some copies. Folks are welcome to borrow, but they're also, you can buy them online at bookstores.
Well, it is.
You had a few comments in chat here. I just wanted to share with you. Folks who signed off already said thank you, and this has been an amazingly well presented program for a novice tracker.
Meaning me or them?
Oh, me.
Yeah.
Every time I go out, I feel
So,
less and less like I know less and less. Okay, well,
well,
thank
if
you.
folks are interested in seeing Barbara next weekend, please reach out to me so we can get you on our list.
And Tara, feel
Thank you so
free,
much, Barbara.
if anybody wants my email, feel free to give it. Fine.
Okay, I will. I'll put it in the email to folks who are registered for this program tonight. But thank you so much. Always fun to
Thanks,
have you, Barbara. and
Yeah,
tell-
thank you.
hear your
Thank you
stories.
so much.
Alan, I hope you figure out your prints.
Thank you. I'll see what I can do.
Okay, take a picture and send it to, well, Eleanor seems to know an awful lot, so send it to her. She'll get
Ellen
it to me.
does. I will do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.